Hello, everyone. As you know now, I'm Thea and I come from Innovative. I'm a communication strategist and I've been at Innovative for 15 years now, which is a long time, I know, but I really like working with those people, obviously. Before that, I worked also in an IT company in a marketing department where they developed software solutions for gaming for financial industries. The entire professional career, I'm in between two worlds, between communication and technology. And it often seems like we're different people, but I think we have a lot more in common than we tend to think. And I think one most important thing is that we all live in fields that are changing very fast. We have to learn very fast. We have to follow trends, and things are changing with a high speed. Not only the world is changing, but our work fields are changing very fast. So I think this is something that's important that we have in common. And also we are all driven by trends. And we, I think, secretly love it, the fast pace, but we like to complain about it as well. I don't know about you, but I often feel overwhelmed sometimes that so many things are happening all at once. And it's hard to keep up with all the micro trends that are niche specific and all the global trends that are happening at the same time. So it starts feeling like a big wave hitting us, and it starts to feel out of control a bit. And when this happens, I think the best advice is the simplest advice, is to take a deep breath first and then dive down deep. So we want to get to the calm feeling, to find our center, and then proceed. And I think this goes with dealing with trends as well. We might have a feeling that everything is changing. The way we drive cars, the way we order food, the way we purchase things, the way we date other people, everything's changing. But I think what is true is that the human nature is staying the same. And I like this quote because it says that technology is just speeding up everything. So it's not changing the way people work, the way our nature works, but it's just speeding things up and making it maybe more advanced. So I think, sorry, too fast. So I think this is a great point, because we have always two perspectives. The first perspective is everything's changing, what are we going to do? But the second perspective is what is the thing that's in common? So what is always true? What is something that we can rely on when everything is changing? So the idea of this talk today is, throughout my experience in the last 15 years, to see what is something that is always true. And I would like to share with you today the five tips I think can help us decide which trends are relevant for us and which ones we should just let pass us by. So the first one. Once a month, I go to an older lady. She is a reflexotherapist. I don't know if you know this field. And she works with clients for decades. She's a very experienced and very wise older lady. And she noticed that people often don't even know who they are. And she always says that it's important to know, are you a frog, a mole, or a giraffe? So if you know who you are, you will know what kind of environment you need to survive, what kind of environment you feel well in. If you know who you are, you know how to express it, and your voice will be heard easily. So you know how to behave, how to dress, how to act, what you want, what you need. So this is a very simple way to explain why we always have to get back to the core answer of a question of who we are. The simplest way to explain this and to remind us all of why this is important, I find in the fashion industry. You might be wondering why I talk about fashion here today on the Silver Stripe conference, but I think it's very simple to remind people to think about brands as personalities. So the brands you work for, or your brands that you take care of them, Think about them as personalities that have a character, that have values, that know what they stand for, and they have to express it consistently. So in this example, we have on the left side the boutique fashion icon Iris Apfel, who passed away unfortunately recently, and on the right side we have a representative of the royal family, Kate, who has to dress conservatively, can't afford trends, if so, maybe in small details like a ring, a small bag, earrings, or so on. But the miss on the left side, no rules, breaking rules, she could afford anything, try out every trend, or even set new trends. So they both know very well who they are, and they know how to show it consistently. And this is the message that we want to transfer also to the brands that we work for. So what I want for you to take away from this today is to think about the brands you work for, or maybe on a smaller level, the teams you work for, or even yourself as a person. Who you are, what kind of environment you need, and how do you express it? What are your values? What do you stand for? What do you want to strive for? And that will help you decide if a trend is well suited for you, or it will look funny on you maybe, or maybe it's a good trend, but you don't feel well in wearing it. If we take a look at a few cases from different angles. One, very well known, Nike, it's the easiest way to explain this. Innovation is at the core of their brand. So in their brand mission, they state that they want to serve being innovative and driving innovation as a force for them and their brand to their customer. Of course, they have to follow this when choosing technology. They're always one step ahead. They always try everything that comes to the market. And their customers also expect this from them. So this is really important. We have many examples from them, but this is just one of them. In their app, they have augmented reality. You can try on the shoes, or you can even measure your shoe size using the application. What I find interesting here in following the debates around this case is that this solution isn't that great. The shoe measuring thing works 95% of the time. It can be annoying when you try to measure it and it doesn't work, but the customers forgive them. Why? Because for this brand, it is more important to entertain their customers with new technology, showing them something they haven't seen before, try out something new, than the user experience itself. They're not a bank. From a bank, you would be really mad if their application wouldn't be working or if it would do some mistakes. If we take another example, I want to highlight here how important the details are. So it's easy to set up a brand, a good brand story, a good mission, but they say the devil lies in the details. So this goes here as a great example of how micro-copywriting can express your brand's identity very well. I don't know if you tried to learn a new language with Duolingo. If you did, you probably met the slightly passive-aggressive character Duo. And if you stopped following his instructions, throughout time, he becomes more passive-aggressive with you because he wants you to come back and start learning again. So you can see these are like small details of the brand executing their identity very consistently. So everywhere you meet Duo and you meet the brand, you know it's them, you know how it feels like, you know what to expect from them. But of course, if you're a governmental website, this is the website we did for Slovenian government on Silver Stripe, of course, you can't afford being a risk taker, you can't push it too far, you have to be 1000% sure about everything you do, you have to keep it safe. So the priorities are completely different, the values are completely different from what the user expects from you and what your brand is. So I wanted you to give you a reminder to think about this. Every time, even if it's the smallest thing, if it's a copyright writing, if it's developing a tool, if it's a detail on a tool, think about it, is this really in line of our mission, our vision, our values, the brand identity, and is it a priority for our brand identity, or we just want to do this because it's a shiny new object and we want to try it out. And the last tip here regarding brand identity is if the trend is great and if it works well and everyone's using it, or it can be a small technique of how you do things, if you try it on and it doesn't feel well on you, let it be. If it doesn't suit you or if it doesn't suit your team, even if it's great, even if it could fit your brand identity, just let it be. Okay, the second one is timing. Of course, we know this one, but it's a good reminder of how important timing is, because even the best technology, if it's not launched at the perfect time, it will fail. My favorite story, I could go in tech stories, so we have many trial and error here, but it's the simplest one. It's QR codes. If you remember, in 2010 or 2012, we were putting QR codes on everything. We were so excited, especially in marketing departments, putting them on billboards, on flyers. Now we can measure who takes a flyer and comes to our website through offline channels. It was amazing. You know how it ended? No one used them. We just had a lot of billboards with QR codes. But then what happened was the perfect storm. So we buried the QR codes, forgot about them, and they came back. We had to have all the right things happening and aligning all at once. First, we had to change the technology. So the QR code reader had to move from an application inside of the camera application, so you don't have to have another application to use the QR code reader. The second, we had the pandemic happening. So we had a very good use case happening, teaching a mass of people how to use it and to lower the resistance towards the technology you use. So we used them immediately on everything. You had to have a code to enter buildings. You have to have a code to read the menu in the restaurant because we wanted to be contactless. Now we're paying bills with QR codes, entering concerts with QR codes, and everything works fine. And I don't know for you, but I love them. It makes things very much easier. But it's a very simple thing. The technology hasn't changed much. It's all the same, but the timing is perfect. We needed the perfect storm to happen. Okay. The third one is assumption killed the cat. I think all of you are probably familiar with the saying, curiosity killed the cat, but I'm pitching an international request to change it to assumption killed the cat. Why is this important? Because I don't think curiosity can do as much damage as assumption can. We like to assume things in life, and we like to assume things especially in familiar environments. So in long-term relationships, with coworkers, so everywhere where we feel like we know how things are going. And it can often be an act of kindness, of familiarity, of love, because you come home with a box of chocolate knowing your wife had a hard day at work, so this can be a good thing. You assumed correctly. But thinking you know everything about your wife can get you in trouble. So what's important, even if you've been married for 20 years, it's important to still ask questions. And the same goes with your customers and your users. If you've been developing a tool for 5 or 10 years, you think you know it all. But when was the last time you asked your users if they're happy with you, with what you bring to the table, or have they changed maybe in the meantime, and what do they need from you to deliver? I think one good example here is, again, I like simple cases. They have built a new shopping center near my apartment, and it's a very shiny, new awarded shopping center with ice skating rings on the rooftop, with trampolines for children in the inside. It's very flashy, very exciting. But what happened? The parking lot wants you to go around and around through the boardwalk and go enter the building. People, of course, found a shortcut, crossed the grass, and started walking to the shortcut into the building, and the grass was torn away through time. And I was observing this very curiously to know how much time they will need to listen to their users. Will they build a boardwalk here? Or will they try to force them to go the way they want to go? And they needed 6 months. I think this was a good timeline of, if you observe other things, they usually take more time. So now we have an extra pathway to enter the building of the shopping center. So this is an example of listening to what people want, not pushing to them what you think they need. And what they need most of you. We don't need flashy trampolines. Maybe first we need the boardwalk from the parking lot to the shopping center. Okay, so what I want to say here is, I know we all know this. All of the rules, we all know them. These are just reminders today, is to use the data you have. But even though it's easy to use the data and gather the data, and with artificial intelligence, it forgives us if we don't have the data structured right, if we don't really know what we're doing. But if we know how to ask the right questions, we'll get the answers. And what's even more important is to know what we are going to do with the answers once we receive them. Will we make a change, or will we just let it be? Okay, the next one. I noticed this thing throughout the years, especially in marketing, that we in both our fields of work like to follow trends, what's new tools. We're very excited about the new things and we want to try them out immediately. But what happens is that then we use them tools always in the same places. But what's important, if we want to build a brand, the brand experience is created throughout all the touch points of a customer. So we have to think about all the touch points where we could implement those tools that we have at hand. What I want to encourage you is to connect with other fields, to connect with coworkers from other teams if you work in larger companies with departments. And when you evaluate a trend, think about it. How could you use the trend maybe for something else? What I see happening all the time is we have chatbots or VR technology being used for the same things. A chatbot on the website, a VR on a fair presenting the product, or a tourism destination. It's all the use is mostly the same. But we have to think about, maybe we should talk to the HR department and talk with them. Would the VR and the budget for the VR development be maybe better spent for training new employees? Maybe this is money spent better and the brand experience will be better because our staff will be more aware and better skilled in the end. So this is just an encouragement for you to connect with other people, and especially people from other fields of work. When you evaluate trends, see where the best place to use the trend will be. So, the fifth one, which should be the last one, is it's not just about the money. What happens very often is we have a great tool, we develop it, we love it, it works. But we don't have the budget for the maintenance of the tool. We don't have the budget for the further development of the tool. And I've seen so many great tools die along the way because we didn't think about this one. A great case is from my coworker. She was trying to buy, I won't name the product so you don't know which case it is. She wanted to buy a product. She went to the website of the retailer and she used the chatbot to find information about the product. She was surprised, actually a chatbot that worked well. It helped her find information, everything went fine. And she was excited about the use of the tool. Then she wanted to see the product live, so she went to the store. She asked the lady there where she can find the product, and she said that they don't have the product in store. And she said, how come? I mean, I saw it on the website. They say you have it in storage. And she said, oh, please, come on, let the online world be. We have troubles in the offline world as it is. So they didn't have data connected correctly. So this is a reminder that you have to ask yourself 3 questions before you do anything. First, do you have the necessary infrastructure to develop this product? Meaning, all the digital platforms, all the databases, and even the connection to the offline world, because this is usually where the disruption happens. Do you have a team that is skilled for the project? Do you have a team that knows what the project is about and what you want to achieve with the project? And do you have the budget to further develop the tool and to maintain it throughout the years, or will it just slowly drift away into nothingness? I know I promised 5 tips, but as every good sailor, you have like a official handbook, but then you have special hidden tips from the pockets of people from experience. So I wanted to add one that's my favorite for the end. We went to a dinner once with a client from Greece. It's one of my favorite clients, and he explained while we were developing the brand for them that he wants us to develop a brand that it's so simple, the essence captured so well that he can transfer it to all of his employees to know this one sentence, to breathe it and live with this sentence throughout the years. And he called it the mother strategy. I really liked how he explained this. And he said, you know, when we were children, our parents told us repeatedly one sentence or a few sentences. Finish everything on your plate, don't walk barefoot, I don't know, you know what your moms and dads told you. And the worst thing is, we thought it disappeared somewhere, those sentences, but through years you hear yourself thinking them and saying them, especially when you have children. When you say them out loud for the first time, you're like, oh no, I'm becoming my mom or my dad. But the idea here is great, because what we want is the one sentence, something that is your core compass, that works through time, and even in the most stormy waters will help you navigate. So think about what is your mother strategy of you as a person, your team, or your brand, when you're navigating challenging times. We have artificial intelligence, we're talking about it all the time, of course. It's a beast that was let out of the cage, if you ask me, without control. Of course, it brings so many opportunities to all of us, also in our fields of work, but the legislation is lacking behind. So it's moving too fast, we can't keep up with the rules. So what do we do when there are no rules? We have to set them for ourselves. Just a few examples with content creation. For example, this is the share from last year from how many images were on Google servers. And after AI created, I think in less than, around half a year, 15 billions of AI-generated images were added to the servers. And these are all creations that have questionable copywriting. We don't know how they're put together. We don't know if this is trustworthy information. And at first, it was fun for all of us. You probably remember the Pope's fashion statement in his Balenciaga jacket. And this was exciting. We all of us wanted to try it out. It's fun. But what's happening is we have tons of visuals and other types of content on the internet that aren't true anymore. So we have destinations that don't exist. We have plants that don't exist. We have birds and other things. We admire them in comments and chats, talking to each other. Where does this bird live? This bird doesn't exist. So it's a really interesting time for all of us to be alive in. And it can be fun, but it can also be very tragic when the images are used to depict real-life moments, but taking away the credibility of those moments because they're artificially created. But we don't know what's right or wrong yet, because this is so new. And also, the legislation, the principles of how we set the legislation don't work anymore. For example, copyright. What is, if I take a picture with my phone, can this be copyrighted or no? Where do we draw the line of creative work? There's so much content being created so easily now that nobody really knows where we will draw the line of who's the creator of what's happening. So the idea here is you have to do it for yourself. no one's going to save you, and no one's going to have a compass for you. So in technology, what's happening is, for example, we have great technology, like hand scanners. It's great to use them. But now we have a case, I loved the debate, I don't know if you've seen it, for a bakery in the United States. They wanted to use the hand scanner, so once you enter the bakery, you just scan with your hand and they identify you, you can do your order, everything frictionless, it was great, and then when you go, it just pays you automatically, perfect. But the debate here was, how are you going to secure the data? This is biometric data about your customers. It's fun to use this technology, but it's very dangerous to use them recklessly if you don't know how you're going to make sure the data is safe. So this is my invitation for all of us to create our mother strategies inside of us to know where we draw the line. So what is your position on data privacy? What is your position on content creation? How do you do things? What are your values when you do things, and where do you draw the line if no one does it for you? So I think this is a good one to remember. I think in times, uncertain times and times of artificial intelligence, emotional intelligence will be more and more important. So think about this with everything you do in work, and I think we'll be fine. Just to finish before we go to lunch, maybe this can help when you're overflown with data or data tools and trends and technology. You will see most of it falls off if you use those questions, and you will be left with just a few options to consider between. So the first question, is it in line with your brand identity? The second, related, of course, is it in line with your values, your team's values, your brand values? Does it really improve the user's experience? And what data do you have behind this to back the decision that this trend is good for you? And the last one, is it the right time? So I hope this helps. And this is it. Thank you.